and my kids leaving. And 9 months into that marriage, my wife walked up to me and she said, if you really love me, you would have given me half of everything you have. And you didn't. And you never will. And she got a moving van. A month later, moved out and took a lot of my stuff. And I came home to an empty house. And it was at that point that I walked in and I took a look around and I started laughing because these material things were gone. And I recognized that I had created all those events. The things that I loved the most were all leaving. And I hadn't answered the call. And so I had a choice at that point. What was I going to do? And I went upstairs to bed and took a legal pad and a pen. And I said, okay, Spirit, you've asked me to write for years, and I told you I'm not a writer. You've asked me to work with the universal flag, and I haven't been willing to do that. If you have something to say it now. Otherwise, I'll probably take some new road and go somewhere else. And I never stopped writing for 2 years. 10 children's books came through me, and I shut the faucet off on that, and thoughts and poems and information that was connected to a source of pure beingness, a source that we all get to tie into. And it was at that point that I recognized that I had to shift what I was doing and actually go out and start to introduce our symbol to the world. Our symbol is very important to the world because as we go around in this age of all of the weapons of destruction and the human weapons of destruction for nature and animals, we tend to follow the indoctrinated beliefs that we learned when we were very young. When I've talked in groups, it's always been the same that most of us don't know what the Japanese flag or symbol stands for. We don't know what the Ethiopian flag means, and we don't know what close flags like England or Canada. We know what our flag means. And it's the same for the rest of the world. It's pretty amazing that we assume that most everyone in the world knows what the red, white, and blue stands for because that's all we ever pound our chests with. And Spirit let me know that, this symbol, our universal symbol, honors all flags. It honors all cultures and races and religions and creeds. But at the same time, gives us a macro view of our world. Because part of the gift that I was given was to know that everything on this planet vibrates from only one energy source, and that is unconditional love. Everything vibrates on this planet from unconditional love. And everything that is on this planet is here for one reason, and that is to be in service to others. Whether it's the food that we just had this morning, which knew that it was coming to nourish each one of us, to give us the minerals and the vitamins that we need to sustain our opportunity to be in service to others. An average lifetime here is 28,489 days. The first 5,115 days or thereabouts were totally dependent on our guardians. The next 5,115 days, or to age 28, we're typically very much into ourselves. It leaves us very few days to figure out why we are here, why we came back. With all of the information that I was given and with the work that I've started to do, I have recognized that one person makes a change in our world. Each one of you make a transformational difference in our world. By every thought that you have, by every action that you take. Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. And that is so true. The difference between Gandhi, King, Mother Teresa, and myself for many years, that I wasn't like them, is that I never took action. It's one thing to think things, it's another thing to take action. And that's been the difference in my life. I've gone out, I've started to take action and to promote a macro view of our world, because unless we help others to remember who we are, the oneness, the interdependence, and the interconnection that we have, then we'll continue to play in the same paradigm that we've always played in, where there is a right and a wrong, a good and a bad. And we have bigger weapons. You know, as a country, we have become a bunch of consumers. We consume the majority of the world's products. We have the majority of everything here. We live in the upper 1% of everyone that's here on this planet. And we do it with little regard for other places, because when we go in and buy, the next technology piece that connects us, because we're connected with our cell phones and our iPods and our computers and our cameras and everything that we think that we need because of the thousands of commercials that we see each year, we're getting all of those parts from other places in the world. We're actually sacrificing people's lives in other parts of the world for the things that we believe that we need today. And the amazing statistic about the consumption that we have here is that in 6 months of going out and consuming, we only retain 1% of what we purchased, because we are a throwaway society. If the rest of the world consumed like we consumed, we wouldn't have a world. We'd need 5 other planets to try to get the materials from. In the United States, we have 4% of our forests left. 4% from where we started. I'm not suggesting that when we recognize the oneness of everyone and everything, that life stays the same. It doesn't. I am haunted by a picture that was a 1994 Pulitzer Prize-winning picture. It was taken in the Sudan in the famine. And there's a picture of a young boy who is crawling. He has to go 1 kilometer to get to the UN food camp. And he almost looks like a dog, and he has not eaten in a long time and can barely crawl. And 2 feet behind him is a vulture that's as big as the child. It's waiting for the child to either die or make it to that camp. The photographer that took the picture won a Pulitzer Prize, but never collected it because within 3 months he committed suicide because of great despair that he was overcome with. And no one knows what happened to the child, because as soon as he took the picture, he left. And it's those images that I recognize that are happening in the world. We have fully billions of people who don't have drinking water today on our planet. They don't have food. They don't have shelter. They don't have clothing. And I used to think, the way a lot of us do, gosh, that's too bad. And so you know what I would do? I would write a check. And I'd say, boy, this is going to go over there and this is going to help these people. Until the day that it hit me that I could write all the checks that I want to. I could be a billionaire and write billions of dollars worth of checks, but that still won't change our world. What changes our world is changing the belief system that we have. It's changing what it is that we send to the grid, the energy grid that creates our world. It's this symbol. And so what I'd like to do, I had about 2 weeks ago the intention of going to bed at 11 o'clock at night and meditating for half an hour. And I looked at the clock at 2:30 and I looked at the clock at 4:30 in the morning. And I thank Spirit for allowing me not to need sleep that night. It took 5.5 hours for Spirit to convince me that what I needed to do was to take us on a little journey today. So if you're comfortable with it, I'd like everyone to just close their eyes and visualize this. Usually when we take a trip, we want to take lots of luggage and baggage with us.